Oh, Melissa, you actually did it. You really took him. Why are you laughing like this?
Because you didn't steal my boyfriend, babe. You stole my problem. And it's all yours now, Toe. Every single wahala of it.
Anita, this is not the time.
No, let her enjoy it. Enjoy him, Melissa. God bless your union.
Lagos had a way of making you believe two things could be true at once. That a woman could be your sister from another mother, and that she could also be counting your blessings like the old harmony. Anita and Melissa had been inseparable since their second year at the University of Lagos, when they'd both burst into laughter at the same unfortunate lecturer whose wig had shifted mid-sentence during a Statistics 201 lecture. That single shared moment of chaos had bonded them for life. Or so they thought. Melissa, wait till you hear what David did this weekend, Anita said, sliding into the booth at their usual spot, Nukoyo's kitchen on Allen Avenue, practically glowing. Melissa adjusted her ginger wig, freshly installed that morning, paid for money she didn't quite have, and forced her lips into a smile. Tell me now, I'm dying here.
So, we went to Nike Art Gallery, right? And this man had booked out the rooftop just for us. Candles, live saxophone, the whole show. Then he pulls out. Anita paused for effect, fanning her curly hair off her shoulder, gold hair cuffs catching the light. A Cartier bracelet. Cartier Melissa. Melissa's fork froze halfway to her mouth. Cartier, she repeated flatly, like she was practicing a foreign word. I nearly cried. David doesn't do anything small, I keep telling you. You keep telling me, Melissa muttered, low enough that Anita, mid-laugh, mid-glow, mid-everything, didn't catch it. This was the ritual. Every week, sometimes twice a week, Melissa sat across from her best friend and absorbed the David Chronicles like scripture. David bought the Range Rover. David flew her to Zanzibar for her birthday. Business class, thank you. David called Anita's mother Mama and sent her rent money without being asked.
Meanwhile, Melissa's love life read like a warning label. There was Kenneth, who worked in logistics but somehow needed her to pay for the Uber to their own dates. There was Chuka, who ghosted her for 6 weeks and then reappeared asking if she could hold him small for rent. There was the one whose name she'd genuinely forgotten, who'd borrowed her phone charger and her dignity in the same week. You're quiet today, Anita said, finally noticing. She reached over and squeezed Melissa's hand, gold bangles clinking. Everything okay with you and Kenneth? Kenneth is history, Melissa said. He asked me to invest in his crypto opportunity. I said the only thing I'm investing in is peace of mind. Anita laughed, the kind of easy, unbothered laugh of a woman who had never once had to Google how to know if a man is broke before the third date.
You'll find your David, Anita said, patting her hand, like she was comforting a child who'd lost a toy. God has someone for everybody. God has someone for everybody, but he clearly gave you two and left me in the waiting room, Melissa thought, smiling instead. Yeah, someday. But something had shifted in Melissa. It wasn't sudden. It built slowly, meal by meal, story by story, gift by gift, until one evening she sat alone in her cramped Yaba apartment, scrolling through Anita's Instagram, a vacation reel from the Maldives, David's arms slung possessively, adoringly, expensively around her waist, and felt something curdle in her chest. Why does she get all of this, and I get nothing? We came from the same Unilag hostel. We wore the same fake Brazilian hair back then. What does she have that I don't have?
The answer, unfortunately, was David's number, which Melissa, after 4 years of friendship, absolutely had saved in her phone. She stared at it for a long time. Then she typed, Hey David, it's Melissa, Anita's friend. Random question, do you know a good mechanic in Lekki? My car's acting up. It wasn't about the car. It was never about the car. 3 weeks later, help with the car had become, let's just grab coffee, no Allah, which had become David sliding into her DMs first, which had become long phone calls that stretched past midnight, calls that always started with, how's Anita? And ended with neither of them mentioning Anita at all. Melissa was a strategist, if nothing else. She knew exactly what to say. You know, she told David one evening,
swelling wine she definitely couldn't afford in a glass she'd bought specifically for this dinner. I probably shouldn't say this, but Anita doesn't tell you everything. David's brow furrowed. What do you mean?
I mean, Melissa sighed, the picture of reluctant loyalty. When we go out, guys approach her a lot, and she entertains it. Numbers get exchanged. I always tell her, Anita, you have a good man at home. But she shrugged, letting the sentence die where it would do the most damage. It was, of course, a complete fabrication. Anita had turned down more men in the last year than Melissa had met, but David didn't know that. David only knew the seed Melissa had just planted. And men, even good men, even rich good men, were remarkably efficient at watering the wrong seeds when jealousy was involved. She's never mentioned that, David said slowly. Would you? Melissa asked, wide-eyed, all innocence. I just think you deserve someone who's transparent, who makes you her only priority. She let her hand rest on his for exactly 3 seconds too long. David didn't pull away. It happened on a Thursday. Melissa would remember it forever, mostly because Thursdays had always been the most boring day of the week, and this one had, without warning, become the most important. She stood in David's penthouse bathroom afterward, looking at herself in the mirror. Ginger wig slightly askew, mascara a little smudged, heart pounding with something that felt suspiciously like triumph, and she smiled at her reflection. Finally, she whispered, finally, it's my turn. She thought about Anita's Cartier bracelet. She thought about Zanzibar. She thought about 4 years of listening to somebody else's fairy tale while she ate the crumbs. Let her have her friendship. I'll take the man. She had absolutely no idea, none whatsoever, that she hadn't stolen a prize. She'd stolen a receipt.
Anita found out the way most Lagos women find out anything important. Through a voice note forwarded 17 times before it reached her. From a cousin, of someone who just happened to be at Nike Art Gallery that Thursday and saw Melissa's ginger wig disappearing into David's car. She listened to it twice. Then she called Melissa. Hey babe, Melissa answered, voice bright, guilty as a cat standing next to a broken vase and a wagging tail she didn't have. What's up? Nothing much, Anita said, examining her nails like Melissa could somehow see her through the phone. I just heard something funny. Somebody said you've been seeing David. Silence, the kind of silence that has its own zip code. Anita, I can explain.
You don't have to, Anita said. And here's the part that truly unsettled Melissa. She wasn't crying. She wasn't screaming. She was laughing. A real, full-bodied, shoulder-shaking laugh. The kind she used to laugh at that wig-wearing lecturer back in Unilag. Why are you laughing? Melissa asked carefully, adjusting her own wig as if bracing for impact. Because, my dear, Anita said, wiping an imaginary tear, you didn't steal my boyfriend. You stole my problem. Congratulations. Enjoy him. What is that supposed to mean? You'll find out, Anita said sweetly. Give it 3 months, maybe 4, if he's still hiding it well. She hung up. Melissa sat with the phone in her hand for a long time, unsettled in a way victory wasn't supposed to feel. Where was the rage, the tears, the dramatic Lagos-style God will judge you speech she'd rehearsed a defense for? She's just bitter, Melissa told herself. She's trying to scare me because she lost. She moved into David's penthouse 2 months later, just until we sort out logistics, he'd said, though the logistics never quite sorted themselves. She quit her job at the marketing firm because David said a woman like her, his woman, shouldn't be stressing herself for anybody's oga. He said it with such warmth, such old money assurance, that Melissa had practically floated to HR to hand in her resignation letter. That should have been her first clue. Old money doesn't ask you to quit your job. Old money doesn't need to. The cracks started small.
Baby, the card got declined at ShopRite, she told him one evening, more amused than concerned. Machines glitched. Networks failed. Nigeria, after all. Ah, NIBS wahala, David said smoothly, not looking up from his phone. Just use the other card. The other card didn't work either. David, is everything okay with the business? She asked a week later, watching him pace the living room, phone glued to his ear, voice pitched in a register she'd never heard from him, pleading. It's fine, he said, hanging up and plastering on the smile that used to make her weak. Small hiccup. You know how these things go. She did not, in fact, know how these things go, because for 4 years, these things had always been handled by someone else, by Anita, quietly, in the background, while David wore the credit for it like a bespoke suit.
The full truth arrived, as full truths in Lagos often do. There a very angry man in a very tight agbada, banging on the penthouse door at 7 a.m. David, Oga, come out. Where is my rent? 6 months, David, 6 months. Melissa opened the door in her silk robe, blinking, ginger wig slightly crooked from sleep. Excuse me, who are you shouting at my husband's door for? The landlord looked her up and down with the particular pity Lagos men reserve for women who are about to have a very bad morning. A husband? He laughed. Not kindly, but not kindly either. Madam, this apartment is not even his. Small girl, sit down, let me educate you. This your David has been paying my rent with promises since March. You know who used to pay before? Small transfers, always on time, no wahala, very sharp woman, curly hair, wore gold, plenty gold. I don't know her name, I only know her account details.
Melissa's stomach dropped through the marble floor. That's not possible, she said, though even as the words left her mouth, she was already doing math she didn't want to do. The Cartier bracelet, the Zanzibar trip, the Range Rover that had, funnily enough, disappeared from the garage 2 weeks after she'd moved in, with David muttering something about servicing. David emerged from the bedroom in his boxers, saw the landlord, saw Melissa's face, and did what men of his particular caliber do best in a crisis. He panicked beautifully. Baba, good morning, no. Let's not do this in front of my woman now. Your woman? The landlord threw his hands up. David, come on, be serious. Which of your women? Because as per my records, only one of them has ever paid rent, and she is not this one. Melissa turned to David slowly. The way you turn to look at a car crash you already know you are the passenger in.
Well, as always, besties, do let us know which part of the world you are watching from. I love to see how far these amazing stories travel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to warn your friends against oversharing information with everyone. David, she said quietly, was Anita paying for everything? David opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again, the universal male gesture for, I have no good answer and we both know it. It's complicated, he finally managed. It's really not, Melissa said.
She called Anita that night, sitting on the floor of a penthouse that, she now understood, was never really David's to offer. Anita picked up on the second ring, already sounding entirely too relaxed for someone whose ex-boyfriend's mistress was calling her at 11 p.m. Hey, Melissa. You knew, Melissa said, voice cracking. This whole time, the flowers, the vacations, the Cartier bracelet, that was all you. Every naira, Anita said, and Melissa could practically hear her twirling a curl around her gold-cuffed finger. David is many things. Rich is not one of them. I built that man's whole personality, babe. The confidence, the swagger, the I don't do anything small. That's called financial backing, sweetheart. Remove the backing, and what's left? Melissa looked around the increasingly cold, increasingly empty-feeling penthouse. An empty apartment and an angry landlord, she whispered. There she is, Anita said, almost gently. Now you understand why I laughed.
David appeared in the doorway in a singlet with a hole at the collar, a far cry from the tailored kaftans of the Cartier era, chewing on suya from a vendor he now haggled with personally. No driver, no assistant, no anybody. I'm pregnant, she said. David's face did several things in quick succession. Shock, then something that might have been panic dressed up as joy, then finally landing on an expression Melissa recognized with a sinking heart. Calculation. That's beautiful, baby, he said, clearly buying time. God is faithful. God is faithful, but the hospital bill isn't going to pay itself, David. I don't have a job. You don't have a job. What exactly is the plan here? We'll figure it out.
David said, which Melissa had come to learn was his answer to everything, from unpaid rent to empty fridges to the day his own mother had called asking why she hadn't received her monthly allowance in 4 months. We'll figure it out was David's entire financial philosophy, and it had a 0% success rate.
Melissa put her face in her hands. Somewhere, in a version of her life she deliberately set on fire, she had a marketing job with a decent salary and health insurance. She had almost forgotten what it felt like to buy something without doing anxious mental arithmetic first. "I quit my job for this," she said, half to David, half to the universe, half to her own stupidity. "I quit my job, David." "Nobody asked you to quit," David said, and something about the sheer, breathtaking gall of that statement made Melissa laugh. Not a happy laugh, the unhinged laugh of a woman standing at the exact intersection of Regret Avenue and Brook Boulevard. "You told me a woman like me shouldn't stress herself for anybody's uga." "I mean, I was just talking," David said, shrugging, already reaching for his phone. "Men talk plenty things, Melissa. You're supposed to have your own sense too now." She stared at him. Somewhere in Lekki, in a life that used to be adjacent to hers, Anita was probably sipping a smoothie in a marble kitchen she'd never had to beg for.
Word travels in Lagos the way heat travels in an on-air-conditioned danfo. Fast, inescapable, and somehow everyone's business. By the time Melissa was 5 months pregnant, visibly showing, wig collection down to 2 because she'd had to sell the rest on a pre-loved hair WhatsApp group. The story of her and David had become a kind of local legend, retold at parties with the reverence usually reserved for Nollywood plot twists. She ran into an old university classmate, Blessing, at a market in Ogba, and made the mistake of accepting her invitation for suya, just to catch up. "Melissa, look at you. Congratulations, oh. When are you due?" Blessing's eyes flicked, quick and merciless, from Melissa's belly to her worn slippers to the ginger wig that had definitely seen better days. "And David now, business is going well?" "It's going," Melissa said, in the universal tone of a woman lying through her teeth. That's good, Blessing leaned in, lowering her voice to the register reserved for the juiciest gossip. "Because I heard, don't be vexed though, I'm just saying what people are saying, that Anita is the one who used to sponsor everything. Even your bride price conversation, people said David wanted to ask Anita's family for a loan to pay yours."
Melissa nearly choked on her suya. "That's not. Where did you even hear that?" "Lagos has ears, my dear," Blessing said serenely, sipping her Chapman. "Lagos has ears everywhere." Melissa excused herself before dessert. She saw Anita exactly once more, months later, at a baby shower for a mutual friend. A courtesy invite Melissa almost declined, out of pure self-preservation, but her mother had insisted, something about not running from your life. Anita arrived looking like the after photo in a glow-up campaign. Curls bouncier than ever, gold ornaments catching the afternoon light, a new man on her arm who, judging from his watch alone, made David look like he was still doing National Youth Service. "Melissa," Anita said warmly, no malice in it at all, which was somehow worse than malice would have been. "You're glowing, Mama. How far?"
"I'm managing," Melissa said, hand instinctively going to her belly. Anita smiled, not smug, not cruel, just knowing, the way a woman smiles when a prophecy she never wanted to be right about comes true anyway. "You know," Anita said, lowering her voice as the other guests drifted toward the cake table, "I never actually wanted you to suffer, Melissa. I just wanted you to see him clearly. You saw the gifts, I saw the invoices." Melissa let out a long breath, something between a laugh and a sob. "You could have just told me the truth." "Would you have believed me?" Anita raised an eyebrow. 4 years, and you thought a man who sold phone accessories on the side had money for Cartier. Babe, ordinary Cartier. Despite everything, the penthouse, the pregnancy, the ginger wig she could no longer afford to replace, Melissa laughed, a real one this time.
"I really thought I won," she admitted. "Everybody does," Anita said, gently, without an ounce of gloating, "until they check the receipt." She squeezed Melissa's hand once, the way she used to at Nkoyo's kitchen a lifetime ago. and walked off toward the cake table, gold bangles catching the light, leaving Melissa standing there, jobless, pregnant, married in all but paperwork to a man who still hadn't figured out how to figure it out. Finally, painfully, completely clear-eyed.